St. Peter's throne is empty. On April 21, 2015, Pope Francis departed, leaving the Catholic Church in an expectant silence. Now, 138 cardinals are preparing for the conclave, where, under the eyes of the world, they will choose the next pope. But this ritual, shrouded in white smoke and ancient secrets, is more than an election. In the corridors of the Vatican, whispers speak of prophecies that herald the end of times, of a leader who can be salvation or ruin, of enigmatic figures like the Black Pope and the Grey Pope. Who will be the man to carry the weight of the papal tiara? While the Jubilee of 2025 promises renewal, a fog of mystery covers Rome. Prophecies from St. Malachy point to a pope who may be the last, guiding the Church through apocalyptic tribulations. Will he be a shepherd of good, uniting humanity, or a shadow of evil, fulfilling visions of destruction? Theories about hidden figures of power operating in the shadows of the Vatican stir the imagination of the faithful and observers. What is at stake in this choice? And why do we feel that the fate of the world depends on it? Who will the new pope be, and what secrets will he bring from the shadows of the Vatican? The conclave is one of the Church's oldest rituals. Over the next few days, 138 cardinals, all under the age of 80, will enter the Sistine Chapel, isolated from the world, to choose the next pope. They will vote in secret rounds, burning the papers in a stove. Black smoke means there is no decision. White smoke, that the new pope has been elected. But this process, described in the Code of Canon Law, Canon 332, is more than a vote. It is a moment when the Church believes that the Holy Spirit guides the cardinals. Is that all there is to it? The Sistine Chapel, where the conclave takes place, is a sacred space. Its frescoes, painted by Michelangelo, show the Last Judgment, with angels blowing trumpets and souls being judged. For theologians such as St. Thomas Aquinas, sacred art is a reflection of the divine. Choosing a pope against this backdrop is like invoking a cosmic judgment.
When the cardinal look up, do they feel the weight of eternity?
Or are human forces, such as ambitions and alliances, shaping the outcome? The Church is in a tug of war. The progressives, inspired by Francis' reforms, advocate an open church that dialogues with the modern world on issues such as ecology and diversity. The conservatives, led by figures such as Cardinal Raymond Burke, want a return to traditional doctrine, with a focus on liturgy and morality. The new pope will be a mirror of this struggle. A progressive leader, like Luis Antonio Tagle, a 67-year-old Filipino, could attract the young, but alienate the orthodox. A conservative, like Robert Serra from Guinea, aged 79, would unite the traditionalists but alienate the moderates. Who will prevail? Tagle is a strong name. Known as the Pope of Asia, he combines charisma with social sensitivity, reflecting the growth of Catholicism in the Philippines. His election would be historic, the first of an Asian, but his proximity to Francis' ideas worries conservatives. Would Tagle be a good pope, bringing renewal, or a divider who would weaken the unity of the Church? Curiously, his name, Luis, derives from a glorious warrior, an echo of spiritual leadership in times of crisis. Another candidate is Pietro Parolin, a 69-year-old Italian who is currently Vatican Secretary of State. Parolin is a diplomat, skilled at negotiating agreements, such as the controversial pact with China on the appointment of bishops. His moderation makes him a consensus candidate, but his caution can be seen as weakness. His ability to mediate complex situations is reminiscent of the figure of the Grey Pope, which we will explore later, a strategist in the shadows whose influence shapes events without revealing itself. While visible candidates are discussed publicly, many believe that invisible forces operate behind the scenes. Figures such as the Black Pope, the Superior General of the Jesuits, and the Grey Pope, a hidden strategist who influences papal decisions, are seen by theorists as the true architects of power in the Vatican. These figures represent the hidden face of the Church, the one that operates in the shadows, away from public scrutiny. In Catholic theology, the choice of pope is seen as inspired by the Holy Spirit, but history shows intrigue. At the conclave of 1903, the Austro-Hungarian emperor vetoed a candidate, something unthinkable today. Even so, rumors persist about outside influence. Posts on X suggest that financial elites or groups like the Freemasons are trying to manipulate the conclave, echoing the Vatican bank scandals of the 1980s. There is no proof, but why do these theories persist? Numerology offers clues. The number 138, the total number of cardinals, is reduced to 3. 1 plus 3 plus 8 is 12, and 1 plus 2 is 3. In Christian tradition, 3 is the number of the Trinity, symbolizing divine harmony, but also earthly conflict, like the 3 apostles in Gethsemane. This suggests a tense conclave, where opposing forces collide. Will the new pope be a unifier or a pawn in this battle? Astrologically, Pluto in Aquarius, active in 2025, marks an era of revolution. Aquarius is the sign of innovation, but also of rebellion. The new pope will face a world where faith competes with technology and polarization. His election could be a catalyst for radical change, as predicted by theologian Hans Kung, who warned of the need for a church adapted to the 21st century. Will he be a visionary or a leader swallowed up by chaos? A historical curiosity. In 1500, the conclave elected Julius II, known as the Warrior Pope, under the influence of a comet. Today, Vatican astronomers monitor the skies, and posts on X speak of celestial signs during the conclave. Will the new pope be guided by stars or human hands? While the cardinals vote, we feel that destiny is being mapped out. Who will be chosen? Prophecies have always guided future seekers, and now, with the conclave in sight, they shine like beacons in the darkness. The prophecy of the popes, attributed to Saint Malachy, an Irish archbishop of the 12th century, is the most intriguing. Published in 1500, it lists 112 popes, each with an enigmatic motto. The last, Petrus Romanus, will feed his sheep among many tribulations, while Rome, the city of the 7 hills, is destroyed. Francis' predecessor was associated with the motto, Glory of the Olive Tree, linked to peace. The next is the last. Was he Petrus Romanus?
Petrus Romanus, motto is apocalyptique.
The final tribulation echoes the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verses 9 to 11, where a great prostitute sitting on 7 mountains is judged. For theologians like Saint Irenaeus, this symbolizes a corrupt power, perhaps the church itself in crisis. Would Petrus Romanus be a pope who resists this fall, guiding the faithful, or a leader who precipitates it? His description as Peter the Roman suggests a return to the origins, but also a closing of the cycle. Prophecies about the papacy are not limited to the Catholic tradition. In the 16th century, when the Protestant Reformation was challenging papal power, various visions emerged about the future of the Vatican. These, together with those of Saint Malachy, create a prophetic tapestry that many try to decipher with each papal transition. Over time, the concept of specific prophetic figures began to take shape. Among them, the Black Pope and the Grey Pope, who represent contrasting archetypes of power in the Church. The Black Pope is not a racial reference, but the title given to the Superior General of the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, who wears a black cassock. According to theories, this figure operates as a parallel power to the official Pope, the White Pope, commanding a global network of influence. The Jesuits, with their presence in universities, missions, and centers of power, are seen by some as the true architects of ecclesiastical politics. The lesser-known but equally fascinating Grey Pope is described as an invisible strategist operating behind the scenes at the Vatican. With no official title or public recognition, this figure supposedly influences crucial decisions that shape the fate of the Church. Some historians trace its origin to the Council of Trent, 1545, where a mysterious voice from the shadows is said to have guided the strategies of the Counter-Reformation. The Grey Pope represents ambiguity, the power that operates between light and darkness. In Catholic eschatology, the end times are preceded by signs, false prophets, wars, and apostasy, as described in Matthew, chapter 24, verses 4 to 12. The Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 675, warns of a religious deception before Christ's return. Would Petrus Romanus, as the last pope, be a faithful shepherd or a deceiver? Malachi's prophecy does not clarify, but adds to the mystery. In numerology, the number 112, the last pope, is reduced to 4. 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 4. In Christian tradition, 4 is the number of creation, 4 Gospels, for cardinal points, but also of the end, like the 4 horsemen of the Apocalypse. This suggests that the next pope will face a cosmic test. Will he be strong enough to hold the Church together? Posts on X connect these prophecies to current events. Some say that the Jubilee of 2025 is the end time, citing climate disasters and global tensions. Others believe that the next pope will open the Vatican archives, revealing truths that shake the faith. These ideas, although speculative, echo Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, which calls for vigilance. Why do we feel that the end is so near? Astrologically, Neptune in Aries, which begins in 2025, brings a spiritual awakening, but also illusions. In Christian astrology, used by theologians such as Tertullian, the stars are divine signs. A pope under Neptune can be charismatic but controversial. Will he be a leader who inspires or one who confuses the faithful? A curiosity. In 1500, the mystic Joachim of Fiore predicted an angelic pope who would usher in a spiritual era. Some see Petrus Romanus as this leader, but others, like theologian Joseph Ratzinger, have warned against eschatological utopias. Will the next pope be an angel or a herald of judgment? While we wait, the prophecies whisper, the end may be closer than we think. The choice of a new pope raises an eternal question. Will he be good or evil? In Catholic theology, the pope is the vicar of Christ, a bridge between the divine and the human, but also a man subject to flaws. St. Augustine, in The City of God, Book 18, warns that even holy leaders face temptations. The next pope, in a world of climate crises, conflicts, and secularism, will have his character tested. How do we know who he really is? A pope's character is revealed not only by his words, but by his strategic choices. Here we can see parallels with the hidden figures of power in the Vatican. The Black Pope, as leader of the Jesuits, represents strength, determination, and a global network of influence. A pope with these characteristics could have the courage to reform structures or the firmness to defend traditions. On the other hand, there is the risk of authoritarianism and division. A conservative candidate like Robert Serra of Guinea could embody aspects of this transformative force through his unwavering commitment to tradition. His election would strengthen the Orthodox, but could divide the Church. Would Serra be a pure shepherd, like St. Peter, or a divider, like the Antichrist predicted in 2 Thessalonians, chapter 2? Her moral character, not just her ideology, will define her mission. On the other hand, a pope with the characteristics attributed to Pope Gray, diplomacy, strategy, and a certain moral ambiguity, could skillfully navigate the turbulent waters of ecclesial politics. A leader like Pietro Parolin, with his ability for complex negotiations, reflects this archetype. The question is, would such a pope use this skill to unify the Church or to preserve institutional power at the expense of moral principles? The name chosen by the pope is a sign. In history, popes have adopted names that reflect their mission. John 23, in 1958, chose John to evoke humility. A Peter II would be bold, echoing Petrus Romanus and suggesting the end. A Leo or Clement would indicate strength or mercy. Will the new pope reveal his character by name? Or will he keep secrets, like a strategist from the shadows? In eschatology, the end times are marked by false prophets. Matthew, chapter 24, verse 24, warns that they will perform great signs to deceive. Any new pope, especially if he is as charismatic as Luis Antonio Tagle, could be misinterpreted by some as one of these prophets. Tagle, called the Smile of Asia, enchants crowds. But is he a saint or an illusion? Astrologically, Uranus in Gemini, active in the year 2025, brings sudden revelations. The medieval theologian Albert the Great saw the stars as reflections of divine will. A pope under Uranus can expose truths, such as opening the Vatican archives, suggested in posts on X. But revelations can be light or chaos. Would he be a prophet or a disruptor who shakes the faith? In numerology, the year 2025 is reduced to 9, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5. In Christian tradition, 9 is the number of the angels, but also of the end, like the 9 trumpets of Revelation. The new pope could bring angelic wisdom or be the herald of a closing cycle. What will his true nature be? The history of the Church is full of contrasts. In the 10th century, Pope John XII was accused of corruption, while Gregory VII, in the 11th century, reformed the Church. Will the next pope be a reformer or a corrupt one? Posts on X say he will reveal secrets about aliens or financial scandals. These ideas reflect modern distrust, but also hope for a true leader. What do we expect from him? In the theology of St. John of the Cross, the dark night of the soul is a spiritual test. The new pope will face this night, with the Church losing faithful in Europe and growing in Africa and Asia. His response will define his character. Will he be a guide who enlightens or a leader who gets lost in the darkness?
A curiosity, in 1500, Pope Sixtus Quintus dis authority two excommunicat kings.
Today, papal power is more symbolic, but the next pope could change that. Will he be a spiritual warrior, like Sixtus, or a figure who avoids conflict? While the conclave decides, we sense that his character will shape the destiny of humanity. When the new pope takes office, he will have access to the Vatican's apostolic archives, a treasure trove of documents that hold centuries of history. There are papal bulls, such as the Unam Sanctum of 1200, which affirmed papal supremacy, and records of the Inquisition. But rumors speak of forbidden texts, medieval grimoires, letters about the Knights Templar, even documents about extraterrestrial contacts. What will the new pope find? And how will these secrets shape his mission? The apostolic archives are more than just historical repositories. They are representations of the power of information. According to theories, the Grey Pope would be the true guardian of these archives, deciding which secrets can be revealed and which should remain hidden. Like an editor of the Church's own history, this enigmatic figure would control the official narrative and use privileged information to manipulate alliances and neutralize threats. Will the new Pope have free access to these secrets, or will there be restricted areas even for him? The third secret of Fatima is the most famous. In 1917, 3 children in Portugal had visions of the Virgin Mary. The secret, revealed in 2000, describes a bishop in white suffering in a ruined city. Theologian Lucia dos Santos, one of the seers, suggested that the full text was hidden. A future pope with determination and courage could reveal the whole secret, facing internal resistance. Would he be a liberator or a destroyer of the faith? A more cautious pope, like Christoph Schönborn, might prefer silence. Schönborn, author of theological books such as Introduction to the Catechism, values prudence. In St. Bonaventure's theology, the truth must be revealed carefully, as it can blind the unprepared. Would a more conservative leader keep secrets to protect the Church or to maintain power?
Your choice will reveal your heart.
The Vatican's relics also intrigue. In addition to the Holy Shroud, there are legends of mystical objects such as the Veil of Veronica or confiscated pagan amulets. In the esoteric tradition, relics have spiritual energy, as described by Saint Cyril of Jerusalem in his Catecheses. A reforming pope could use this power to strengthen his leadership, but to what end? A more cautious pope would keep them locked away, fearing their impact. Financial scandals are another shadow. In 1982, the Vatican Bank was linked to the death of Roberto Calvi, who was found hanged in London. The case, which was never solved, inspired theories about the mafia and Freemasonry.
Will the new pope confront this darkness?
A leader with a commitment to transparency, like Peter Turkson, with his advocacy of social justice, could investigate. But what if he is silenced? In numerology, archive is reduced to 7, the number of mystery, like the 7 seals of the Apocalypse.
Fort Saint. John Chrysostom, 7 represents the divine quest.
The secrets of the Vatican are more than historical. They are spiritual keys. The new pope, on entering this underground, will face a test. Will he reveal the truth or keep it under wraps for strategic reasons? Astrologically, Uranus in Gemini suggests revelations. Posts on X talk about documents on extraterrestrials, inspired by Francis' statements in 2014, when he said he would baptize aliens. The Vatican Observatory, founded in 1891, studies the skies. Does the new pope know something we don't? And will he dare to tell us? In the theology of St. Thomas Aquinas, truth is a divine gift, but it must be tempered by charity. A pope with strong conviction could expose secrets, as suggested in Revelation, chapter 17, where the great prostitute is unmasked. A more conservative pope, however, could choose silence, fearing chaos. What will his path be? A curiosity. In 1943, Pius XII opened the archives to refute Nazi accusations. Will the next pope do the same? Or are secrets, such as the supposed chronovisor, a machine to see into the past, too dangerous? In the esoteric tradition, secrets are portals of power. Will the new pope open them or seal them? While the conclave chooses, we imagine the new pope in front of these locked doors. Will he be a shepherd who enlightens with the truth, like St. John the Evangelist, or a guardian of the shadows? The secrets he finds will define his reign. And are we ready for what may be revealed? The Black Pope is a figure who haunts the imaginary behind the scenes of ecclesiastical power. Contrary to popular belief, this title does not refer to a possible African pope, but to the superior general of the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits. Dressed in his characteristic black cassock, this leader commands one of the most influential and strategic orders in the Catholic Church, with a presence in over 100 countries through universities, missions, and power centers. Founded in 1540 by Ignatius of Loyola, the Society of Jesus is distinguished by its quasi-military discipline and absolute obedience to the superior general. The Jesuit motto, Perinde ac cadaver, obedient as a corpse, reflects the total submission of its members to superior orders. This unquestioning loyalty was essential to consolidating the order's efficiency and influence, but it also fueled theories about its hidden power. The relationship between the Black Pope and the official Pope, the White Pope, is complex. Although officially subordinate to the pontiff, many theorists believe that the superior general exerts an influence that goes beyond the traditional hierarchy. As the leader of an order present in global educational and political centers, the Black Pope would have access to strategic information and the ability to shape generations of world leaders. In his prophecies, Nostradamus mentions a Black King who would rule before invasions and plagues. Some interpret this figure as a reference to the Black Pope, suggesting that at critical moments in history, Jesuit power would manifest itself more explicitly, possibly through the ascension of a Jesuit pope, as happened with Francis, the first pontiff of this order. This convergence between the two popes would be a sign of profound transformations. The role of the Jesuits in history is marked by controversy. The order was suppressed in 1773 by Pope Clement XIV, under pressure from European monarchs who feared its power and influence. Although it was restored in 1814, this suppression fueled theories about clandestine operations and political influence. The Jesuits were pioneers in astronomical and geographical studies, often challenging traditional church beliefs, such as the geocentric view of the universe. The connection between the Black Pope and forbidden knowledge is another intriguing aspect. Many believe that the Jesuits accumulated mystical, scientific, and esoteric knowledge over the centuries, including texts on alchemy, astrology, and Kabbalah. The so-called Black Book, a supposed grimoire containing occult knowledge, was kept by the order and accessible only to the superior general. This knowledge would allow the Jesuits to anticipate events and manipulate global decisions. The Jesuits' global influence is manifested through their educational network. Their universities and colleges trained political, business, and cultural leaders all over the world. This strategy has given the order access to global elites, allowing them to indirectly shape the decisions of entire nations. Is this an innocent coincidence or a covert way of controlling world destiny? The rivalry between the Black Pope and the Grey Pope represents another level of complexity in the Vatican. While the superior general of the Jesuits commands a visible global network, although his influence is often underestimated, the Grey Pope operates completely in the shadows, with no official title. Documents found in the Apostolic Archives suggest that, at critical moments such as the Counter-Reformation and the Second World War, these two figures alternated between collaboration and tension. In eschatology, the Apocalypse, chapter 13, describes a beast that deceives with signs. Saint Justin Martyr saw it as a charismatic but false leader. The Black Pope, with his symbolism of global power and influence, could be misinterpreted as this figure, especially by those who fear his international reach. Would he be a shepherd or a deceiver? In numerology, black is reduced to 5, the number of change, like the 5 books of the Pentateuch. In Christian tradition, 5 is also the number of Christ's wounds, symbolizing sacrifice. The Black Pope will bring transformation, but at what cost? Will his leadership be redemptive or apocalyptic? Astrologically, Pluto in Aquarius suggests rupture. The theologian Dionysius the Areopagite saw the stars as reflections of the divine order. The Black Pope, as a symbol of transformative power, could represent this revolution, influencing the Church in unexpected directions. But revolutions bring conflicts. Will he be a unifier or a divider? Posts on X say that the Black Pope will mark the return of Jesus. These ideas echo Daniel, chapter 7, verse 13, which speaks of the Son of Man coming in the clouds. Is the superior general of the Jesuits a forerunner of this event, or just a strategic leader facing a world in collapse? Global anxiety fuels these visions. A curiosity. In 1769, the Jesuits were expelled from Portugal for an alleged conspiracy. Today, their influence remains, with colleges and missions all over the world. Would a strengthened Black Pope be a return to that power or a sign of crisis? In Malachi's prophecy, Petrus Romanus could be that leader, guiding the Church to its end. While the conclave decides, the Black Pope hovers like a specter of power and influence. Whether as an ally or rival to the next pontiff, his presence will be felt. The question echoes, will he bring the light of salvation, like St. Francis of Assisi, or the shadow of the apocalypse, like St. Paul's man of lawlessness? The Grey Pope represents one of the Vatican's greatest enigmas. Unlike the Black Pope, who has an official title as Superior General of the Jesuits, the Grey Pope does not appear in ecclesiastical records or hold a formal position in the church hierarchy. He is a shadowy figure, an invisible strategist whose existence is known only through historical evidence and encrypted documents found in the apostolic archives. The origin of this mysterious figure possibly dates back to the Council of Trent in 1545. In the midst of the crisis of the Protestant Reformation, documents mention an enigmatic voice of the shadow, an unidentified advisor who played a crucial role in the most strategic decisions of the Counter-Reformation. This man, whose true identity remains unknown, would have been the architect behind the creation of the Index Librorum Prohibitorum, the list of banned books, and political alliances that secured the support of Catholic monarchs. While the Black Pope represents power and transformation, the Grey Pope symbolizes ambiguity and pragmatic strategy. His name derives not only from the hidden nature of his operations, but also from his ambivalent moral position. Neither light nor darkness, but the space between the two. The Grey Pope understands that the institutional survival of the Church sometimes requires decisions that transcend absolute moral principles. Control over the Vatican's apostolic archives is central to the Grey Pope's power. As guardian of these secrets, he determines which information can be revealed and which must remain hidden. Documents that could rewrite human history, from papal correspondence to records of heresies, political treaties, and apocryphal texts such as the Gospel of Judas, would be under his direct supervision. This control allows the Grey Pope not only to preserve the Church's official narrative, but also to manipulate alliances and neutralize threats. One of the most significant moments of the Grey Pope's work is said to have occurred during the Second World War. While Pope Pius XII officially maintained the Vatican's neutrality, the Grey Pope orchestrated a clandestine network of operations that influenced the course of historical events. Monasteries and churches were transformed into refuges for persecuted Jews, secret passages within the Vatican were used to hide entire families, and agents linked to the Holy See transported refugees to safe havens. The relationship between the Grey Pope and the Black Pope is marked by a mixture of collaboration and tension. Documents found in the apostolic archives suggest that, at critical moments, the two worked together to strengthen the Church's position. During the Counter-Reformation, this partnership was vital in combating the advance of Protestantism. While the Grey Pope engineered political alliances, the Black Pope mobilized missionaries and educators to reconquer lost territories. However, this collaboration began to show cracks in the 17th century. The growing power of the Jesuits, fueled by their financial independence and global reach, worried the Grey Pope, who feared that the society could become a threat to the centralized authority of the Vatican. This led to measures such as demanding direct reports from the Jesuits to the Grey Pope, bypassing the Black Pope in certain instances. An emblematic example of this tension was the 30 Years' War, 1618 to 1648, a devastating conflict that intertwined religion and politics. During the war, the Jesuits acted as diplomats and advisors at various European courts, often under orders from the Grey Pope. However, their growing autonomy led to internal friction, with reports that Pope Grey occasionally overruled certain missions of the society. The height of this rivalry came in 1773, when Pope Clement XIV, under pressure from European monarchs, decreed the suppression of the Society of Jesus. Although officially attributed to the influence of kings such as Charles III of Spain, the theory suggests that the Grey Pope supported this decision in order to neutralize an internal threat. In numerology, Grey reduces to 6, the number of harmony, but also of temptation, like the 6 days before divine rest. The Grey Pope will face choices where balance can lead to stagnation. Will he be able to decide, or will he lose himself in midterms, as Nostradamus predicted when he spoke of a pope who would weaken the thirst? Astrologically, Neptune in Aries brings illusions and idealism. The theologian Origen saw the stars as signs of providence. A Grey Pope under Neptune could inspire with speeches of unity, but fail in concrete actions. Would his neutrality be a light to the world or a mist that confuses, like the false prophet of Revelation, chapter 16? History shows moderate popes in crisis. Paul VI, after the Second Vatican Council, tried to unite the Church, but faced divisions. Pope Grey can influence the next pontiff along this path, but the world of 2025 demands action. In Lumen Gentium, the Pope is called to be light. Will the next Pope be capable of this, or will he give in to the pressures of the shadow strategist? A curiosity. In 1500, Pope Callistus III used his neutrality to avoid wars, but was criticized for inaction. The next Pope will face global crises such as climate change and polarization. Will Pope Grey, as an invisible advisor, guide him to be a cautious diplomat or a leader who fails the test of prophecy? In eschatology, the end times demand vigilance. 2 Peter, chapter 3, verse 10, speaks of a day of the Lord that comes like a thief. Pope Grey, with his tendency towards pragmatic strategy, could be seen as one who manipulates the final events, not out of malice, but because he believes that the institutional survival of the Church is more important than absolute principles. Posts on X speculate that the next Pope will be influenced by this shadowy figure, a keeper of secrets who maintains the status quo. A strengthened Grey Pope could direct the new pontiff to protect the Vatican archives, preserving documents from the Inquisition or supposed evidence of extraterrestrial contacts. But, as St. John Paul II said in his encyclical Fides et Ratio, the truth should enlighten, not obscure. Is the silence imposed by the Grey Pope an act of prudence or a betrayal of the Church's mission? In the esoteric tradition, the color gray symbolizes the threshold, the space between light and dark. For the mystic Jacob Boehme, this threshold is where the divine and the human meet. The Grey Pope, as a liminal strategist, represents this moral and spiritual ambiguity. He is the manipulator who operates in the interstices, where the most difficult decisions are made away from the eyes of the world. While the conclave shapes the future, the influence of the Grey Pope continues to be felt in the corridors of the Vatican. Whether myth or reality, this figure represents the mystery of power that moves in the shadows, making decisions that have silently shaped history. Will the next Pope be free of this influence, or just another piece on the board of a game that transcends time? Vatican Shadows takes us through a labyrinth of prophecies, secrets, and mysteries, where the next Pope, influenced by the invisible forces of the Black Pope and the Grey Pope, will become a symbol of human destiny. Each prophecy, from St. Malachi to Nostradamus, each cosmic sign, from Pluto in Aquarius to Neptune in Aries, invites us to look beyond the veil, where good and evil, light and darkness, dance an eternal dance. The Black Pope, with his global network of Jesuit power, and the Grey Pope, with his pragmatic strategy in the shadows, represent the dual forces operating behind the scenes at the Vatican. Between these two influences, the new pontiff will have to find his way, whether as a visionary reformer or a guardian of tradition. What do you feel as you contemplate this moment? Will the new pope be a beacon in the midst of the storm, or a shadow that heralds the end? The journey has just begun, and it's up to us, seekers of truth, to watch for the signs to come. If you're interested in exploring more about spirituality, I've specially selected for you some videos full of profound insights and fascinating discoveries that you'll love. Just click on one of them. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue this journey of self-discovery and spiritual learning. Your commitment to knowledge is the first step towards transforming your reality.